Okay, so hey everyone, today I'm going to be reviewing a book that I kind of read recently that took me well over a month just because I'm kind of a slow reader and whatnot. So yeah, I kind of read it and I want to share my thoughts with it. I am on Goodreads as well, so I'll put the link underneath. So if you're a bookworm and you review books as well and you'd like to become friends and stuff, you can add me on there or follow me. Um, yeah, and kind of I put the review up on Facebook as well. So this is kind of like my thoughts and stuff, and there's going to be 100% spoiler alerts. Not to mention, I'm just in all natural kind of thingy just because I was too tired to kind of do makeup with the medical condition I have. So yeah, we're just gonna kind of roll with this. But the book I'm going to be reviewing today is Nemesis by Brendan Ritchie's. I'm so sorry if I've got that wrong and I apologise. So this book is book one of three. So there's another two books after this. I have the second book, Genesis, that I'm gonna read at some point and review, and then the third book I don't have, the library don't have. So I'm literally gonna stop it at book two and then just find out on Goodreads what happens in book three. This is 446 pages from what I wrote. Um, Let me just double check that. Yeah, 446 pages. I have given this book 5 stars, book one of three, as I've said, and spoiler alert. So I'm going to read the blurb to you first. It's been happening since Min was 8. Every 2 years on her birthday, she is murdered by the same man in cold blood. But hours later, she wakes up in a clearing just outside her hometown alone, unhurt and with all the evidence of the crime erased. Across the valley, Noah just wants to be like everyone else, but he's not. Nightmares of murder and death plague him too, though he does not though he does his best to hide the signs. And as the world around them begins to spiral towards panic and destruction, the two troubled teens discover that people have been lying to them their whole lives. A blockbuster thriller for the fans of The Maze Runner and The 100. Now, when I saw the back of this, because it said it gave a mention about The 100 on there, and I have all of the 100 DVDs, so this is kind of why I picked it up. And plus, this is an X copy library edition, so they were selling it for 20p. So yeah, that was another reason I read the back and I was like, 20p, it sounds like a good read. So I was like, yeah, I'm going to pick it up. First off, the cover doesn't give you much to go on. It would have been nice if the cover was more, I just hit myself, was more detailed and stuff like that. But this is kind of the cover and kind of the edges and sprayed and stuff. So in this story, we follow three characters that are talked about a lot. We have Min, Noah, and Tak. Mainly to start off with, we follow Min. Every other year, so on equal years, it kind of makes sense, she is murdered by a man in a black suit, and he murders her throughout her life. He's been doing it for such a long time, and he murders her in different ways, and she kind of gets sick of it in the end. But the first murder that happens that I recorded, because it's the opening of the book, is where he shots her, and every time he murders her, he's always like, I'm sorry. That's it. Nothing else, just I'm sorry. Which is such a pathetic thing to do, and then be like, I'm sorry. Yeah, so on Min's eighth birthday, she's led away by the black suit killer, as I like to call him, and that her mother has a surprise for her, and then he throws her off the cannon. So that is kind of horrible in itself. That's another one of the murders he does. And again, he says, I'm sorry. So every time she's killed, and then she feels nothing but blackness, and then nothing, and then she wakes up in like the woods in the clearing, and their hometown is called like Fire Lake. So they have like a main bridge that gets them out of Fire Lake and back in. So there's a lot of like conspiracy theories in here. The kind of government's involved. Everybody's kind of involved in this book. there's a lot of guesswork as to what happens and what this big secret is with Project Nemesis. And it's not until you get to the very, very end of this book that you actually find out like what the huge secret is and what is kind of happened. There is kind of technology and stuff involved, and there's kind of virtual reality, which is kind of cool. It's kind of my thing, so I did every line of you. So yeah, so it's kind of all of that. So Min and Noah receive therapy throughout their lives up until they're 16, and then they also receive medication, and they're kind of told that they're kind of like the ways they're dying is not real. It's kind of in their head, that kind of thing, when it's 100% real and it is happening to them because it's part of this massive project kind of done by the government and everyone involved. So yeah, so Noah has the same doctor as Min as well, and then there's another two betters that make up four of them all together that were like kind of chosen because when they were younger they were all lined up in class and given like these shots that they had, and nothing was mentioned, so they were kind of led into like a back room and one thing another. So then there's kind of a lot of, like the kind of jabs and therapy sessions where they kind of go deeper into the memories of these kind of killings, especially with Noah, where you kind of have flashback scenes, but they're kind of really good and detailed kind of thing, which is what I really, really like. But the next thing I'm going to talk about is we have a massive jerk and a bully character in here called Ethan. He is such an asshole. I would like to say control freak. I don't know, he's just very like, I run this place kind of thing, and he's just such a dick towards Tack. Like, he bullies Tax and everything because Tax kind of got the attitude of a smart ass type person. He doesn't like being told what to do. So yeah. So Tack and Ethan kind of get into a massive row where literally Min and Tack blow up Ethan's car, which was another highlight of the book. So I've kind of taken the really good highlights of this book out of here and kind of put it into a review. But yeah, that was interesting to read because then Ethan's not so much of a smart ass now that his car's been blown up. In the book as well, throughout from kind of not right at the start, but kind of getting through the book, there is a lot of mention of comets and asteroids hitting Earth and how one hit. I think one of them hit India, and there was one due to hit Fire Lake, but last minute it didn't. Now, I never would have thought that the information of comet and asteroid would be such an important part in this book, because those two words, when you get right to the end of the book and you read the last three chapters, that then makes sense and that then comes together. So those are the most important parts. But they basically, once this asteroid doesn't hit them, they have this massive fucking party around Fire Lake where like there's gunshots and everything going off and partying because they haven't been hit, their hometown's not going to be destroyed, and most importantly, they are not dead. So another time that the black suit killer, that I call him, he Min doesn't like to celebrate her birthdays because obviously every time she kind of has a birthday or every 3 years, he comes and he kills her. And this time he rams her off the road, causing her to crash and die while he's in his like own vehicle. So that was like another highlight of the book. And I kind of thought that was kind of an RC move, but again, there was no, like in this one, we didn't get like I'm sorry or anything because they're in separate cars, so it was just like basically the head on crash and then her waking up in the clearing in the woods again. As we get further in and Ming comes to the point where she's so sick of it, she wants to find out the truth. She wants to find out why this particular man or person is killing her and why, to basically prove she's not crazy, that there is something on, and she knows that there's something bigger going on. So she wants to figure that out. But the earliest clue we get is that her mum, I think her mum admits or something like that. How we find out is that her mum signed a document for Min about this project. So that's like the other hint. So now with this information, you're then sitting there thinking, well, what's this kind of got to do with it? Like, what's this big secret? Because even at this point, I was like, I really don't know. All the scenarios I was coming up in my head were just wrong, because I never would have thought that the ending that was one way that everything could end. So we then get to another part of the book where Noah and Min have a confession session of how they both admit to each other, how they both have the same doctor, Dr. Lowe, I think is pronounced, where they've had therapy sessions, they've had medication, and the killings have happened to them both, but in different kind of ways, how the killer has got to each of them, kind of like that thing. And obviously with Tak being Min's best friend, he's involved in all of this. So they need to try and find out the truth, and they agree between the three of them that they are going to get to the bottom of this, which then leads to Noah having to break into the killer's apartment. This is when he finds out a bit more information. We find out a bit more information, but we also find out that there is another two people who are being tracked who has dots on them as well. So there's four of them all together, and then obviously Tag's kind of tagging along for this ride. So yeah, so the killer knows exactly where these four subjects are, exactly where to find them and when to kill them. So he's got all the information he needs and the trackers. We then move on to the biggest part of the drama in the book, is after all 64 children are rounded up, because Fire Lake comes to a part where there's earthquakes, the mountains broken, the town's kind of smashed up. And this is where it kind of gets interesting, because when I say this, it's like, I don't know if anyone has ever watched The Society on Netflix, where the kids are on the bus kind of thing and they come back to their town and there's no adults or anything. That happens in this book. So like the kids are gassed by the authorities, and then the next thing, they wake up after being gassed. Like technically they should all be dead, because I think it was Noah or Tak who fell in the water in the fountain or something and cracked his head and was sick. So technically he should have drowned and not regained consciousness at all. And then you sit there and think, how are they alive? So all 64 kids, after being rounded up and gassed, regain consciousness, and they all come back and they wake up. And after, all of them talking and kind of having a match, they all come to the conclusion, and they go around and they find other adults, other authorities, police, anything they can find. Not only is the hometown perfectly intact and it's like nothing never happened there, like the mountain's fine, nothing's been smashed. And not only that, it's kind of like, there's no adults, but they don't have any network, they don't have any phone, they don't have any cell. The main bridge to get out of the Fire Lake town is still destroyed. Like they can't get out. They can only go around Fire Lake. So they have like the supermarket store, believe it or not, where Ethan's dad owns it. Sorry, so he has complete and utter control of the food kind of thing. And they kind of spend, like a day or whatever searching, looking for adults, seeing what supplies they have, how are they going to survive, how are they going to do this. And then Ethan is the biggest jerk, where he rounds up his kind of group, where he's going to be the boss and rule everything, and it's kind of do as I say, that kind of thing. And we're saying that after he takes control, and even Min, Tak, and Noah think this is ridiculous to have him ruling and giving out sheets to do like different tasks every day. And bearing in mind, no, that was after, yeah. So bearing in mind that was another major thing, like where are the adults, mystery type filler thing that we had to figure out, and I never would have thought what would happen next. So Ethan doesn't like Tak, because Tak is not going to follow Ethan's rules. He's not going to follow orders. He's not going to do as he's told, and also he's slacking. So Ethan wants as much power as he possibly can, and this is a massive spoiler alert. He then stabs Tak right in the heart in front of Min, where she gets really upset after this massive explosion and kind of conversation and anger and kind of who's in charge and who's doing what. And he just kills Tack just for not doing as he's told. So it's like resented into murder, which Min promises that, you know, she's gonna get Ethan back at one point. But then even after Tack technically died and they put a sheet over him, Ethan's guards, or you know, little minions, put Min in a cell, so she has to kind of stay in there and kind of cry and stuff like that, which I thought was such an asshole move, you know, for Ethan. It just shows how much of a jerk he is, kind of thing. So while Min is in her cell, Tack is dead. Noah and the rest are split up into groups because they have to go. Ethan demands that there's these other kind of classmates who are missing, who have kind of done a runner, and I don't think they ever came back. Like, I generally think that they died and didn't kind of reset, kind of thing. But yeah, so Noah kind of slips away from his group because he's going to break Min out. So the best part of this is that throughout the book, he's kind of so weak and a wuss, and he wouldn't punch anyone, and he wouldn't really stand up for Tack or Min, like, because Ethan and Noah were kind of best friends before all of this happened. So the fact that Noah wouldn't go back to Ethan's group, and Ethan hates that, he really fucking does hate that. Yeah, so the fact that Ethan absolutely hates that, and Noah, you know, is not up Ethan's backside. So kind of he does break Min out, but the interesting thing is that the guy who is sitting on cell duty to watch Min, he kind of, you know, punches this other guy and kind of knocks him out unconscious to the point where he bleeds, and then he breaks Min out. And then they kind of go on the run to kind of find out more information and to hide, obviously, from Ethan and stuff. So that was kind of really interesting to read, and I honestly thought that there was going to be a plot where the romance kind of side was going to build up, kind of thing. And because at one point they did actually kiss, so I was like, and the way they were looking at each other, so I was like, they're gonna fall in love. It's gonna be kind of like a cute duo, but no, that didn't happen. So while in the group, when Min and Noah escape, they see Hector, who actually, and this is another big part of the story and the key information, is when Hector jumps off the bridge because there's no way of getting like down and back up. So he basically commits suicide and jumps off the bridge because obviously no adults, no authority to run, no kind of control, boundaries, laws or anything. So he kind of jumps, but the interesting thing is that when Min and Noah are finally caught by Ethan's group, they're taken back to the town where after Hector was jumped and he died because not only did Min Noah see it, somebody else in I think it was Ethan's group or somebody out of the 64 kids saw it. And Hector literally walks back up to Ethan and the rest of the cast, and he's completely unhurt. Like, he's got no marks, he's got no cuts, he's got no bruises, he's got nothing. He's perfectly intact. And he explains how he fell and he felt nothing, and then suddenly just he had all this blackness around him, and then he woke up. I can't remember where he woke up. He woke up in the woods again, the same. But at the same time, is that there's talks that Tack's body is missing as well. So once kind of, you know, Ethan kind of doesn't believe this type of thing along with Sarah, and Min and Noah kind of like, that same thing happened to us. Like, every time we died, we came back, kind of thing, which I thought was that kind of all started clicking in. But then with Tack's body being missing, we kind of know that at this point Tack's going to come back alive, and he kind of does. And Min and Noah find him in like the kind of base kind of military thing in a field, kind of thing. So this raises a lot more questions, which obviously at this point we then find out that Ethan and Sarah are the other two betters because they come and they find Min and Noah and Tack in the type field thing where we just now talked about, and they kind of find them and they kind of come to this confession type thing where they all kind of admit that they're all being killed by the same person. So it raises more questions, but again, Ethan still wants to kind of have the control and still be, as I call it, an arsehole type of thing. So at this point, Min, Noah, and Tak agree that they are going to get to the bottom of what is actually going on, and they head to the military base thing that was kind of set up. When they get there, they find odd things like supplies, tents, but they also find folders on Nemesis. They find records and stuff of who was doing what, but they also find a DVD kind of thing that they watch that is based on planets and how this Death Star that they can't see through telescopes and that comes to hurt the Earth every 26 million years and wipes it out completely. Yeah, so that was the biggest like key of information, but I didn't twig until right at the end of the book when that all kind of clicked in. I was like, oh, okay, so that kind of makes sense now. So generally, it was actually a Death Star that wiped out the whole of humanity, and Project Nemesis was to try and preserve the human race somehow through virtual technology, where they've kind of got kind of codes in a computer of personalities and stuff, and that's what the 64 kids were for, was to basically preserve them. But as they complete phase one, the killer man comes out of the building of like the kind of hall type thing that was locked that they managed to eventually unlock. And Ming comes face to face with a killer, and obviously she is fucking mad. She is absolutely mad about it, which I would be as well. And yeah, so she kind of comes face to face, and then the biggest thing is he tells them that they are all dead, which obviously caused a massive confrontation. And not only that, he shows them like he takes everything away that is kind of real, and they're kind of like made up of letters and numbers in like technology. And obviously this freaks everybody out because Min, in one thing it was described so well how Min didn't see anything of her, she just saw letters and numbers in like a computer thing. And that kind of explains how they are now, you know, the whole earth is dead, but also they are stuck in having to be virtual reality kind of thing. So no one's alive, they're all dead. That was shocking, that completely by the Death Star that wiped out Earth. So yeah, that was absolutely shocking. So obviously the ending of the book ends in a massive bloodbath because they've just all been told that they are dead, and obviously that doesn't go down well. But Ethan's kind of been stabbed. There's a lot of stabbing and shooting going on, and then there's phase two. They still have phase two, which I'm assuming is what Genesis is about. But yeah, but not only that, Noah kind of, Min's laying on the ground bleeding out, and it's only now that Noah's finally got a fucking backbone. Like, he's then like, I need to be strong, I need to do this, we need to follow like the program and do how it says in order to survive. So it's like every man for himself. And I was just like, wow, that ending, I never saw that ending coming. So I was like, bloody hell, that's a big ending. So that's kind of my review, but my thoughts on this book, that if you definitely love mystery, kind of thriller, planet, science, that kind of thing, this is definitely your cup of tea. The only thing is, it is a bit slow paced just because like everything clicks in right at the end, and it's only after 400 pages that we find out what Project Nemesis is, and it's basically 400 pages of trying to figure out what's going on, with some drama scenes kind of included, kind of that being, but the ending I never ever saw coming. As I say, it kind of kept you guessing as to scenarios on it, and I never would have thought that another kind of star would wipe out Earth, and kind of they would all be programmed into a computer somehow. Trying to keep what's last of the human race going. It's shocking. I mean, I liked it, I enjoyed it. I've given it 5 stars. I don't think, even though this is my copy, I don't think I'm going to be keeping it, just because as I've reviewed it, I don't think I'll read it again. just because I like the story, but not enough for me to want to go back and read it, just because obviously we had 400 pages of them, you know, conversation, a lot of fights, a lot of kind of arguments and stuff to just find out what actually happened right at the very end. So this is book 1 of 3, and I've given it 5 stars, and this is my reviews and thoughts. But obviously, as I say, if you like VR, planets, mystery, thriller, and you kind of want a book that kind of keeps you going because you want to know what's going on, but it takes a while, this book is for you. So I hope you enjoyed my review, and any support or subscribes or like would be very much appreciated, as I would really like to have some sort of future in the book world, as I'm a bookworm, and I completely live for it. So yeah, hopefully I'll do another review soon on the second one. I don't know when that'll be or how long that'll take, just because I have a medical condition where most days I have bad days and I'm in a lot of pain and I sleep a lot. I have constant brain fog, so it's really hard to type of do these reviews. So I have to do notes, I have to watch, you know, videos of other people's, just to kind of keep stuff in my head and memories as well, along with the seizures, etc. So yeah, any support to make my dreams come true and support my channel would be very, very much appreciated, and thank you very, very much.